It's called Amazing Grace. And you can understand the song when you find out the background of the writer of the song. To say that grace was so amazing that God would save a wretch like him. Yeah. You know, Paul said, I was the chief of sinners. He said, I was a man born out of time. Paul probably never forgave himself for the hideous things that he did. Probably never, the scriptures don't even touch on what he did. But people who called on the name of the Lord, he set out to kill them. He stood there and he held the coats, urging these young men to stone Stephen. And no doubt those words, I see Jesus standing on the right hand of the Father. No doubt those words penetrated Paul's heart. I can imagine Paul unable to sleep at night and maybe even having dreams that would awaken him in the middle of the night. Having heard the gospel preached from a man that was being stoned, but yet still loving them and asking God to have mercy on them, to forgive them. But that didn't stop Paul. He still set out to capture Christians and to squish this new religion, this new rebellion, until one day he bumped into Jesus. And Jesus says, why do you keep kicking against the pricks? Who are you, Lord? He had enough sense to know that this was someone of great authority. Who are you, Lord? He said, I'm Jesus, whom you've been persecuting. You know, the slave ship owner, the slave ship captain wrote the song Amazing Grace, but I'm sure that Paul probably understood the amazing grace of God, since he taught about it so much in the book of Galatians and throughout the New Testament. He taught about the grace of God. See, he understood the grace because he was a vile religious man. Some people think because you're religious, you're righteous, but in reality, if you're religious, you're probably wicked. Many religious people are very vile and corrupt. Because, see, it's more than just religion. Paul had religion, but he had to have an experience with Christ. And there's many people who walk under the guise of religion, but never have had an experience with Christ. Christ is the only one that can change a vile heart into a compassionate heart. Christ is the only one that can change the way a man walks and the way he talks and the way he conducts his business. Only Christ. Amen? Amen. See, when God saves you, he saves the way you conduct. He changes the way you conduct your business. I'm going to tell you something. Someone who calls himself a Christian and will cheat another man in business is not a Christian. I told my son-in-law when he first started coming to church here, I said, son, he had his own business, home repair, painting and drywall. I said, if you ever quote a price to someone, and when you get involved in that job and find out that it costs more than what you expected, then you eat it.
That's right.
He looked at me and smiled real big and said, I already do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know other people that will give you a quote, lowball you, get you hooked and get you halfway through the job and then start telling you all the money, the extra money you have to pay. I knew a young man that would work on your vehicle and he would tell you $200. By the time he was done, it was $400. and didn't think he was doing wrong. He did that to a missionary couple. And the missionary couple sent him a letter thanking him. And he was standing there telling them, well, they understood. His wife was telling me. They were okay with it. They liked it. They sent me a thank you letter. She looked at me and said, he just don't get it. She was raised in church. She understood. She said, he just don't get it. She rolled her eyes and shook her head. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. Mm-hmm. That's been over 20, 25 years. And I've seen this man reap a lot of problems, a lot of health issues. And you know the sad thing about it? Most of the people don't even realize why they're going through what they're going through. They just don't have that spiritual insight, Gal. I remember Sandy and I was talking recently about a situation that happened, what was that, like 20 years ago, 20-some years ago. We were working, I won't go into detail because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we were doing a job. It was like side jobs for people, and we did like $100 a quarter a day. Well, this business went out of business after we had worked. I had worked every day that week. We usually work maybe three days a week, but that week I worked every day, and I had over $500 some coming to me. That's a lot of money when you've worked all week for it.
Yes.
And the company went out of business, and we were told that they didn't pay him. And every time I seen this man that was in charge, he would say, man, I'm going to get that money if I have to pay it out of my own pocket. I said, look, you got ripped off too. I'm not expecting you to pay out of your pocket when you lost money too. Over the years, 3-4 years went by, every time I'd see him, he would, man, I said, look, brother, don't worry about it. Well, one day he was driving a truck, and he flipped this big truck. And this man's in the hospital. And I go to visit him, still not thinking anything. I walked in the door, this man started crying.
Wow.
He said, yeah, you never did get that money. I never did get that money for you. And right then I realized this man got that money.
Yes. Yes.
He didn't get it in the beginning. He was honest in the beginning, but 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, they paid him, and he just decided that those 5 or 6 guys that he owed $400, $500, $600 to, it's Christmas. I'm going to pay for Christmas presents. Well, see, I thank God seen my needs and provided for me that year to pay the Christmas presents, buy Christmas presents, because I was dependent on that money for Christmas presents. But God seen it. He met my needs. And I realized that day, that man got that money and never did pay us. And now he realizes the reason he's in that bed is he's reaping what he sowed. He literally started crying, tears coming down his face. And I realized right then, he knew that the reason he's in that bed is because of what he did. You cannot get by with things, folks. We think we can get by. We think we can do something and it'll not catch up to us. It might be 10 years, but it will catch up to you.
Sooner or later. Yeah.
And thank God when you realize why. Because many people are so spiritually blinded, they don't understand. They just think they had a turn of bad luck.
Yeah.
Don't do folks wrong. I learned a long time ago, when I learned the principle of whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap, I learned to not do anything wrong to people. Now, have I ever done things? Yeah, maybe, without realizing it. If I do realize it, I correct it.
Yeah.
But I never intentionally do anyone wrong.
Me neither.
Sandy and I was talking yesterday about how when people do us wrong, we have these, and forgive me for exposing us men, because I know most women probably don't have that, but men, we want to take matters into our own hands.